So Ben, you were on the review for Portal 2, is that right?
That's correct.
What did you feel when you beat the game? When you beat Portal 2, what was the feeling that you had?
I think a lot of games I play through, and at the point when you get to the end, you're ready for it just to be over. And with Portal 2, I was immediately ready and already thinking about playing through it again and wanting to play through the commentary and wanting to play through co-op, and it's just a good game. It's fun.
Now, what did you think about the final moment when the roof opens and you see the moon? What went through your mind? Did anything even go through your mind?
You see the moon, and you immediately shoot a portal at it. And I think I did it without even like thinking about shooting a portal at it.
Just an instinctual response?
It was so instinctual.
You never knew that you wanted to. You never knew that you wanted
Yeah.
to shoot a portal on the moon until it was presented to you in Portal 2.
And then there's that split second before it dings, and like, where it's like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening.
And then even more brilliant, besides the fact that you had to wait until you saw the moon to realize that you wanted to shoot it, they were actually in a way prepping you, because Portal 2 is all about realizing that white surfaces are what you want to shoot portals on. And then there's the Cave Johnson line about the lunar dust, and then it all just came together in this beautiful thing, which I didn't even think about until long after. Now, what did you think about the corrupt spheres, the corrupt AI? Because that was all Nolan North voiced. There was the goofy space one that wanted to go into space. There was the adventure one, facts one. What was your favorite?
Probably the fact sphere. Fact sphere. It was the funniest. Like, it had the most jokes compacted into one.
Per minute.
Yeah, per minute. And the adventure sphere had one
The JPMs.
really awesome jokes.
You need to work on your JPMs, by the way.
I do. They suck.
Street comedy.
It's really slow, grinding. But the adventure sphere had like this really awesome line where he started doing his like own adventure music.
Oh yeah.
Like, that was probably the best joke from him. And then the space sphere I actually really liked, but it was kind of like the same joke
Yeah.
over and over again.
I agree. I liked them all.
Space Court is now in session. Guilty. Being in space.
You really like the space
That
one.
wasn't me.
So
That was Nolan North.
what was interesting to me is how you're dealing with all these, with putting like these corrupt AI spheres onto Wheatley at the end, which was really drew a parallel to the first boss fight from the end of the first game to me, which you're taking the spheres off and incinerating them, and I thought it was really cool. But overall, like, I felt like Portal 2's boss fight showed off mechanics of the entire game, which was a tall order because they incorporated like the paint and everything. I know there was no excursion tubes or faith plates or anything in the Portal 2 boss fight, but I felt like it showed off like the game's mechanics, even going back to the first game, way better than the first one. Not that the first game had a bad boss fight, but the ending to the second one was way better than the first one, I think.
Warning, core corruption at 100%.
And then you do finally destroy Wheatley, and Gladys gets saddled back up in her rig, and you know, she's out of her potato and all that, and she finds her memories of Carolyn, who you find out is actually the person that she was based off of, Cave Johnson's assistant, who took over for her after he died, and her brain was shoved into the AI to control all of Aperture.
There was actually a moment, okay, when she's talking to you at the very end, maybe this is where you're going, and she talks about how, like, I want to thank you for helping me realize Caroline was in me, or whatever she says, and then it's like,
Carolyn, delete.
Goodbye, Carolyn.
And like the panels flip and she turns to you, and there's that like, my gut sort of like fell under me, and I was like, oh, like,
Because Gladys had been nice to you, and you see some of that malice again.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, like this is how like typically this would roll out, as she like, oh, realizes true love and whatever, like the meaning of life, and now she's a nice robot or whatever.
Well,
but
nice,
that's like, yeah, and nice for her, but then they like twist it again, and you're like, all right, and it's a joke, but it's also kind of terrifying.
And she's nice in the sense that she realizes that you're better off just leaving than her trying to test with you or kill you, and so she sends you up the elevator, and like you were talking of that moment where you thought that Gladys was gonna, you know, go back on her word or whatever and attack you like old times. The turrets take their sights on you, and then that's what leads in, which I thought was going to be the moment where it's like, oh, Shell just gets shot, and then that's the end of Portal 2. But then they go into their turret opera, which I thought was awesome. The first time I saw it, I thought it was so surreal and bizarre, and what I really liked about it is it was like Valve's way of reminding you, hey, Half-Life, people really care about Half-Life's story, and they take it really seriously, and they try to figure out how Black Mesa ties in with Aperture and that, you know, waiting for Shell to meet Gordon Freeman and all that. But that opera song with all those turrets did a really great job of reminding us how bizarre and absurd Portal can be at times, and
Right.
and I thought it was a great
There's
song.
that king turret.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the
kinda
Animal
fun.
King.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the music? You know, there was that song, and then of course the end credits song. What did you think about that compared to Still Alive, which is pretty infamous at this point?
Yeah, Portal 1, it's got to be a hard act to follow up on.
Yeah.
I remember going out there for the Portal cover story and talking to them about it earlier, and they kept talking about how we want to do more stuff with music. We want to like have it incorporated throughout the game, and obviously we're going to have some kind of end song, and it'll be like a big closing final musical number. And it was. I was sort of, if there's one thing I was let down on Portal 2, it's that their music was not as impressive as the first game, and they didn't really have that much more of it. I feel like there's a few like minor jokes throughout the game, but
Yeah.
even the last song, it didn't stick with you the way that Still Alive stuck with you.
Well, the surprise
Immediately-
was gone too.
Right.
Just that there would be a song.
Yeah, you can't do that again, obviously. But
Yeah.
Still Alive, after Portal 1 ended, you had that stuck in your head.
Yeah.
And you were humming it, and I was like, I immediately wanted to go download it on iTunes
Yeah.
and have it. With this, it's like, it was fine, like it wasn't offensive or anything. I remember liking it, but
Mhm.
I can't even remember how it goes. Like, and I had no reason to go listen to it again.
So speaking of, you know, the elevator ride out of the Aperture facility, you emerge, the door opens, and you see the blue sky, and you see a wheat field. You know how many years it's been in the future. We don't really know when Portal 2 takes place. And of course, she turns around and sees the shack. What did you feel when you saw all those things? And like, this is the first time Shell's been outside of the explosion of the first game. It's the first time she's been, you know, free.
This is kind of how the first one ended. Is like you explode and then you're set free, so to speak. I just really like the turnaround, and then there's the shack.
Yeah.
Like, all right, there's the joke of the shack, and then of course the companion cube pops out. It's just, you gotta have the companion cube.
What did you? So that joke or that reference, even it's not even really a joke, was definitely directed at Portal 1 fans. You know, people that loved the companion cube and that entered its meme status. What did you think? Did it do anything for you, or did you like appreciate that nod?
I guess the part of me was like, yeah, the companion cube, because obviously it was a great bit from the first game, and I feel like they probably had to work it in at some point.
Yeah.
Because they knew people wanted to see the companion cube again. But in general, I was pretty happy that they played down a lot of that stuff. A lot of the stuff that was huge in the first game, like the cake. We don't see the cake again. I don't think we had any references to the cake. The cube is really, I thought they were going to do a lot more with the companion cube. But, which is probably good because there's that balance there. It's like you run that joke into the ground. And really, those jokes were run into the ground after the first game came out on the internet, right?
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of jokes that emerged kind of surprisingly after the first game, do you think that anything from this game will emerge and even come close to the like the cake is a lie or the Still Alive stuff in terms of references?
I don't know. This game is definitely as funny as the first game, I feel like.
I think it's funnier. Yeah.
Maybe funnier, yeah. Like, certainly Cave Johnson, I like him better than Gladys even. Like, you think he's funnier. And there's stuff about the moon dust, maybe the stuff he says about the lemons. I really like the praying mantis bit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's grabbing on like the first game did, for whatever reason.
You know what a reason might be is why there won't be things that emerge as you know, huge memes or whatever will be because Portal 1, it was more interspersed and you had to really clutch onto those things because there wasn't as many hilarious moments. So when people found the cake is a lie or, you know, all that reference stuff, they just held on to it, whereas it's all evenly distributed across Portal 2 pretty well. You know, there's not much downtime where you see something and you're like, oh, that was great. And I think in the first game, you know, you see the cake as a lie among a point in the game where there's not that much going on, and so you feel just like the sense of ownership, and it means more to you. It's more impactful because there wasn't as much crazy, hilarious stuff going on the entire time. So.
Right. There's all these things that people wanted to see, and Valve was smart, and like when they went and started looking at, are we going to make Portal 2? They thought like, well, what if we just don't have Gladys? And like they actually put that stuff on the table, which is smart, and they didn't overdo it. But now the Portal 2's out, they have the same problem again, only it's amplified because, you know, you got Cave Johnson, Wheatley, and Gladys, and like, so how much of that stuff comes back from Portal 3, and how much of that stuff do we let go and try to come up with new jokes?
Yeah, speaking of new jokes, I can't wait till we sit down and do a spoiled on Portal 3.
Yes.
Hopefully it won't be 20 years or whatever. But
Hopefully not 20 years from now.
let's go fly a
Yeah.
kite.